the strength of his intelligence and eager and self-denying search for truth still get the respect of theologians of all faiths. In one of his works, he wonders what he really wants to conceive and responds to himself, the God and the soul, and anything else? Definitely nothing. The founder of the medieval mode of thinking, St. Augustine Aurelius, has in theological tradition the name of Augustine the Blessed, that is, living a good life. St. Augustine Aurelius was born in 354 in the city of Tagaste in northern Africa, in a rather poor family of a city council member. Many researchers consider that his ardent emotional nature, selfless single-mindedness, and radicalism originated in the hot deserts of his motherland. Patricius, Augustine's father, was a pagan, and Mother Monica was a zealous Christian. Augustine had been brought up in a Christian belief, but his mother had not christened him because at that time it was considered that the christening removes all sins before the God from the person and is better to take it on a life decline. When he was 15, Aurelius moved to the study in the big city of Carthage, full of temptations. Subsequently, he wrote in his Confessions, "I led a dissolute life, not because I liked it. I didn't want to be despised for my innocence and be held cheap for my chastity." One of his concubines gave birth to his son Adeodatus, and he loved him very much. But though he lived together with this woman for a long time, he didn't marry her. This stormy life had not prevented Augustine from finishing study successfully and founding his own rhetoric school in Carthage, where he taught eloquence and art of dispute. In 384, Aurelius received a profitable place of the head of rhetoric school at a courtyard of Emperor Theodosius I in Milan. In his youth, Christian ideas seemed ridiculous to Augustine. He was involved with the Manichaean doctrine, which viewed the world as an antagonism of two substances, good and evil, and possibility to make the global evil responsible for one's own mistakes. Interest in Manichaeism lasted for 10 years. However, every day Augustine found more and more defects and contradictions in this teaching. He continued to search for truth tensely. The ideas of Neoplatonists about one God and the divine word, by which the world had been created, proved to him absurdity of those Manichaean tales, and the sermons of the outstanding theologian Bishop Ambrosius Mediolanum opened to Augustine the real beauty of Christianity. Augustine wrote, "All questions have disappeared. I understand that all truth I've ever known from books of philosophers also exists in the Holy Scriptures." On May 3, 386, while being alone in the garden, Augustine had heard the voice speaking to him. "Take up and read." He took the message of Apostle Paul and read at random. "Not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof." Aurelius's heart was filled with light and peace, so Augustine had found Christian faith. Absolutely another life had begun for him. On April 24, 387, 33-year-old Augustine, together with his son Adeodatus, accepted christening. Augustine's mother died soon after seeing with great pleasure the converting of her son to Christianity. After her, Augustine's son left this world. Then Augustine gave up a favorable post in court rhetoric school and has returned to native Tagaste. He gave all his property to the poor, and together with other Christians became the strict ascetic. Augustine negatively estimated sexual life in general, even within marriage. Similar views had caused a Christian opinion in this question for long centuries. Augustine was ordained a priest and occupied episcopal see in the city of Hippo. For 4 decades, he gave all of himself to the church, headed the ideological war against heretics and Manichaeans, established the first monastery in northern Africa. From his works emerged about 100 books and 200 messages. In his epoch-making work, The City of God, Augustine proclaimed that the city of God was not Rome, which was in a state of decline, but the Christian Church, which had a mission to convert all people to Christianity. but the most known and the most read of Augustine's books till now is Confessions. Petrarch, Dante, Pascal, Rousseau, and Tolstoy imitated it to some extent. The book is his spiritual biography, but at the same time, Augustine chose to speak through it as though on behalf of all mankind looking for the God. You have created us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. Nowadays, Confessions helps us to imagine this outstanding personality. With intense spiritual work, Augustine overcame raging passions in his soul, but he clearly understood how sinful and imperfect he had been. He had made the best he could for the construction of a noble edifice of Church of Christ, but many years were to pass until Christianity triumphed in Europe. By a legend, Augustine once met a boy at the seaside who was digging a small pit and filling it with seawater using his tiny hands. "What are you doing?" Augustine asked. "I want to pour all the sea in this pit," the boy answered. "I am just the same as that boy," sadly thought the theologian. Augustine died in 430. After his death, he was canonized as a saint as well as his mother Monica. Existential philosophers of the 20th century said Augustine Aurelius was the first man of modern times and considered him to be one of their predecessors.